Hey guys, I'm Chef D-Max. Welcome back to the kitchen. Today, beets. I know some people like beets, some people don't, but if you like beets, stay with me. We're going to show you a really nice way to make these beets. Keep them in your fridge. You'll have them to use all the time. So click subscribe if you're not already doing that. Give me a thumbs up if you like this video and ring that bell and I'll send you cool new stuff I have coming up. So I'll see you back in a second. Okay guys, beets. So over here, I've got my beets. I've already cooked them. I'm gonna tell you how I do that, because that's the key part, right? You see I left the beet kind of whole here. You can see that it's already got all of the, some of the, I just cut the stem off. You can take the top, the beet greens, if they look really fresh and beautiful, like you got them from a farm, they look real nice. Sometimes if you get them in the store, that's the first thing that'll kind of wilt and get a little wet and not as nice. So if they're not as nice, just throw them away. But if they are nice, they're gonna eat like Swiss chard or kale or anything else. So just dice them up, rinse them off in nice water, and saute them in some garlic butter, olive oil. It's just really nice, a little lemon juice on them, and they make a great accoutrement to some grilled piece of steak or fish. But the root itself here, I just trim it so I don't have the tops on, and I trim the bottom of the root if it's really long. And this core piece of the beet, you're just gonna put this in water, okay? Now, the key piece to a beet, it's like a potato. You want to bring it to a boil in the water. Whatever's in the water, whatever flavoring in the water should be going what you want to kind of give to it. That could only be salt, but that could be caraway seeds, it could be cumin seeds, it could be garlic, it could be shallots. You could be trying to put different flavors in the beet additionally. So that's really up to you however you're going to make it. A lot of times I keep it neutral, so I just do salt. Maybe I'll put a little cumin seed in there, maybe a bay leaf, some thyme, something like that. But just put salt is fine. So you want to cover it. I covered these completely with water, about an inch over where they are. And you do that because you want plenty of water. You don't want them half out of the water, half in the water. You want plenty of water to allow them time to cool down in there. So what I did was I covered them with water, put salt in there. Like I said, anything else you want to put in there. Bring it to a boil. When it boils, for this size beet, I did these for about 8 minutes. 5 to 8 minutes is probably the right size for a medium-sized beet like this. If they're a large beet, maybe 12 minutes, 10 to 12 minutes, okay? And then if they're baby beets, you barely just bring it to a boil and then turn it off. So after it boils for like maybe a minute, you turn it off. Now, the key is letting it cool in the liquid. You want all that juice and flavor and minerals, everything to come out, that comes out in the juice of the beet into this water. When it's boiling, you want it to get sucked back in there. So we want to make sure that we don't drain that water off. You don't want to drain it off until they've completely cooled. So bring it to a boil, cook these for about 8 minutes, turn it off, let it sit in the water until the beet is cool. Okay, dump the water out at that point, and then we're going to clean them. So all you do for that is just rub them. You can see how I just rub the beet like this, and all the skin comes right off, right? So you don't need to use a peeler. You don't use a knife. You just want to do like that, right? Just brush them, okay? And you want to just scrape them with your kind of the side of your hand like this. You see how I'm doing this? And what you end up with is a nice clean beet, okay? So we're going to do all 3 of these really quick. And then what we're going to do is dice these up, slice these, however you're going to use those. I'm going to make a salad today. I figure with these beets, we might as well make a healthy salad to go with it. So let me just wipe these, clean my hands, and then I'll be right back. Okay, I just cleaned these off a little bit. You can see the beets here. I'm just going to trim off the root end here, like this, and discard that. And I'll chew off the little tail. So, I'm going to take a little bite of that. It's really nice. Beets like this are very good for you. A lot of sugar in beets, so you got to remember when you're using a beet, a lot of times I don't use additional sugar products in them. unless you're going with a cheese, you can put honey on them too. But with these, I'm just going to slice these straight down now. And again, you could cut beets into slices, quarters, whatever you want. But this one, we're going to I'm going to make some dill beets. And I'm going to use a little creme fraiche, lemon juice, and dill. And we're going to go ahead and marinate those a little bit, and then we're going to make a salad. So these beets, I'm going to take them and lay them flat like this. So you can see I cut them in slices. And I'm going to lay them flat like this on my cutting board, all shaped up nice, right? And then I'm going to just slice them again. This is what we call, this is our way of dicing, right? So for those of you who don't really work very much with knives, you need to practice. And this is what we call making a dice, is we slice one way and we cut back the other way, and then we're going to turn them and we're going to cut back the other way, and you'll see we'll get all these beautiful dices. Unfortunately, there's no short-term or shortcut way, I should say, to make that, right? There's no machine that does that really that well. So these, I take the bottom of the knife. You see how I just alternate them like this? Let me do this outside one so a little easier, like this. You see how I do that? I put my knife under there, and I turn them all. Don't try to pick them up. If you try to pick them up, they're gonna fall apart. So just do that. Line them all up, okay? And then with this, I'm just gonna dice. Okay? Now, you can see these are beautiful dice like this, right? And these are perfectly cooked. They have a little bit of bite right in the center, but they're very soft on the outside too. It's a nice texture. You don't want to cook them mushy, and you want to cook them where they're crunchy, okay? So you want that perfect balance of firm but soft. So that's what you're going for. Now, if you cooked your beets and cooled them in the water and they weren't perfect, what can you do? That's why I don't throw that water away till I test them. I actually take them out, I'll test one. And if I know it's cooked perfect, I'll drain the water and go ahead and peel them. But if it's not perfect, put them back on the stove in that same water. Bring it back to a boil again, and then cool them again. Now, once we do this, I'm going to clean this out. Now that I've cleaned this out, I'm going to take my beets, stick them here in my bowl, and I'm going to marinate them with my flavors. That's why I say you don't really need to impart a lot of flavor inside the beet. It has its own flavor. Putting salt in there is kind of what you want to do. And then what we'll do is we're going to add some pepper to that. I like to add some nice ground pepper. I don't go cheap on the pepper. I go pretty strong, right? So you can see right there, like very nice pepper, right? I'm going to put a little half teaspoon of salt on there to add extra salt. If you forgot the salt in the water when you cook them, then you're going to have to put a little bit more. You do it to taste, right? Then good extra virgin olive oil, and then a beautiful lemon juiced. Okay? Now once I do that, oops, we don't want seed in there, so I'm going to take that and make sure I get this seed out. Perfect. And I like it really lemony, right? Because I'm going to make these with a salad too. Now, with beets, the thing is people don't buy beets a lot of times because this is a little bit of work that you're doing, right? You're cooking them, you're cooling them, you're peeling them. So a lot of times people want to buy canned. Canned beets are just terrible compared to a fresh beet that you've cooked yourself. So don't do that, okay? Just take the time to make these beets nicely like this, okay? And at this point, I would take the beets with acidity on there, lemon. I probably wouldn't put the olive oil if I knew I was going to store them. I put the olive oil in before I'm going to use them. But it doesn't matter. You can put olive oil in the fridge. It's going to be fine. Then just temp it out a little bit. Oil, when it sits in the fridge, kind of gets really cold. It's better if you let it get out to room temperature before you use it. Great flavor, great acidity. Now, like I said, if you're putting this in the fridge to store it, and what I mean by that, when you do beets, don't just do what you're going to eat for that day. Do what you might want to eat over the next 10 days. So take the beets like this and cut them, lemon them, salt them, put them in the fridge in a mason jar, and that will last in the fridge for probably another 8 to 10 days, fine, okay? So with this, I'm gonna keep what I want for this dish, and I'm gonna add creme fraiche to it, and then I have the rest of the beets I can use at a different time for a salad, for a sauce, for anything. So with that, I'm gonna take a little bit of sour cream like this, put that on. I love beautiful sour cream and beets. And I'll try that. That's like 3 little spoonfuls here. 3 beets, spoonful for each beet. Okay. Oh, wow. Looks nice, right? Look at that color. Creaminess, right? Nice and golden. Got the olive oil in there. Now I want to add my last element for that, which is my dill. Dill's a really classic accoutrement. If you don't like dill, you could use tarragon. But if you don't like dill, you probably don't like tarragon either. You could use parsley. You could use basil. You could use cilantro. But dill is really one of the classics. You know, dill is a cold weather herb. You find it in the northern countries a lot. And so that's why you see it so much in like Norwegian cooking, because it's delicate. It does better in cold. And beets as well. Beets are cold weather, usually a little bit colder weather vegetable. So with the beets, we're going to add this beautiful accoutrement of dill. And I'm just going to chop my dill like that. And I put it in here. Let me mix that up. Now, you could add some, I would add sometimes some garlic oil in this. I like in this, these beets like this. If you're adding fresh garlic, just be very careful. Just add just a touch of chopped, very finely minced fresh garlic. If you have garlic confit, which is slowly cooked and pureed garlic, which I've got a video of that. You can click up here and check it out. You could add that into this as well. Perfect. It has a meatiness, super tasty. With this, I'm going to take, for my salad, I'm going to take a nice romaine. What I've done, trimmed it up so it's nice and clean. I'll use a half of it. So I've got my half of my romaine right here. I'm going to put that right here in my plate, right? Now the first thing you want to do when you have a lettuce like this, you want to season the lettuce first, right? So I'm going to put a little teaspoon or so of apple vinegar on there. I want to make this really healthy. So I've got that beautiful apple vinegar. I'm going to put salt, right? Pepper. I'm not going to go too heavy on the salt because I'm going to add some olives to this too. And I've got some fresh, white, beautiful white spring button mushrooms. Now these beautiful white ones like this, we don't need to even cook those. I like them raw in a salad. But again, if you're not a big fan of that, you can leave it out. You can put whatever you want. Put sliced avocado. But I love beets and these white mushrooms. Beautiful flavor together. Okay, so with these, I'm going to put a little bit of olive oil on them and a little salt on them as well. And then I'm going to put those all over my salad. Okay. And then I've got some tomatoes here, some cherry tomatoes. Now the cherry tomatoes, I'm just going to cut them in half lengthwise. You can see like this, right? That's it. That's all we're looking to do. Let's put all those on there. And then for the tomatoes, I'm going to put just a little bit. These tomatoes are these spring tomatoes in Florida, because it's our season for tomatoes, are very kind of acidic. So they almost don't even need to have vinegar on them. I'm going to put just a little of that excess lemon on them, and they always need salt. That's one thing tomato always needs. There's a lot of water in them. They love salt. So I'm going to marinate those like this. I'm going to put a couple spoonfuls of tomatoes on there. Okay. And then a few olives. Okay. That's enough. And then I'm just going to cut these olives into little circles. You can cut them into slices, just so you're not getting one big chunk of olive at a time. You just want to get a little together like this, okay, for saltiness, earthiness. Mushrooms too, like such a great earthy flavor. And then to finish that, I'm going to take my beets and put my beets right down the center like this. Fantastic. I really think it's such a nice, earthy, salty, sweet from the beets as well, crunchy, super healthy. So if you're feeling like the winter's crushed you, start with a great spring salad. See you back in the kitchen soon. I'm Chef D. Max.